Hi, in this video we are going to look up our competitors' factor measurements using Cora SEO software. I have already run the software and we are looking at the output for the search term SEO tips 2017. So the first tab in the results shows our tuning recommendations. So it shows us which factors we should tune for and to what degree of tuning. We actually want to change tabs and look at the overview tab. The overview tab has our measurement data and our correlation data. So if we scroll down, we see our factor measurements, well, our factors first, one per row. And if we scroll to the right, we see our measurements by page. So for factor number one, the average result on page one had a value of 52. The average result on page two had a value of 17.6, and so on. If we continue scrolling over, we get to the individual measurements for each result in the top 100 results. And we have that again by rows for every factor. So these measurements then get used to calculate the correlation coefficients by page as well as the correlation coefficients overall. So what I typically like to do when I'm looking into my site's factors or my competitors' factors is I like to scroll all the way back to the left. I find that first factor right below the headings and right next to the description. I'll highlight that cell. I'll go to the window and I'll say split. And then I'll go back to the window menu and say freeze. And what this does is it freezes it in a way that if I scroll, I keep the factor description so I can see what factors we're looking at while we're looking into the numeric data. And if I scroll downward, I keep the headings so I can still see what site and what factor we're looking at. And so that's just a useful Excel tip. And then what we do next is we go to the results and we look up a hypothetical competitor. And let's say our competitor is skyward.com. It's not really my competitor, it's just an example. But we'll say number 14, skyward.com is a website of interest. We go back to our overview. We go to value 14 because they ranked number 14. And in this column are their factor measurements. So we can highlight those. We'll make them, let's make them orange. So now we can see that they have 14 plus ones, and the average on page one is 52, and number one had 75, and so we can see how they're tuned there. But we can see on this factor the number of words on the page that they are well below as well. So we can see, but if we were further down here, we could see that, oh, they have twice as much text content on the page if we were number 21. So we can basically go down factor by factor, see what they're competitive with and what they're not, and we can find the things that they're not and target those to give ourselves advantage. If we're otherwise comparable, we could find what they're doing right and do the same to achieve competitive parity. But this is how you look up your competitors' factor measurements using Cora SEO software.